Hello and welcome to the user interface tutorial for HydroMetPortal, and this section is on the mapping interface. The first topic we'll cover today is the date/time picker. So the user has the ability to pick a date in the past or just get the latest available data. So that's what we're doing here, and the data is available on an hourly basis. So when you first select an hour, it'll bring up the 1 hour precipitation. So we're switching to 24 hours. And then we will also turn on the rain gauge layer. And so this is just the location of each rain gauge station. So we'll zoom in and find a station that we want to look at. This brings up a pop-up of the last 7 days of data for this station. And it looks like they got about a ½ inch of rain over the last 6 hours. One thing to keep in mind when looking at this gauge data is that it's preliminary and may be subject to error. So sometimes you'll see the amount highlighted in red. This means that it's been flagged by the algorithm as suspect. It also means that this value has been excluded from the accumulation total on the right-hand side. Now I'll demonstrate how to toggle on and off a layer's visibility. So there's an eyeball next to the layer name. You'll just click this eyeball and it will toggle the layer's visibility on and off. It's important to note that if the parent layer visibility is turned off, then any of its members will not be visible. So for example here, if reference data is turned off, then the current National Weather Service watches and warnings won't be visible. Now we'll look at layers that don't appear until you zoom far enough into the map. So the 3 layers that exhibit this behavior are the rivers and streams, the dams, and the Huck-10 basin boundaries. The rivers and streams layer depicts rivers and streams as blue lines on the map, and the dams layer gives the location of the dams with their corresponding hazard potential classifications, with red being high, yellow being significant, and green being low. And finally, the Huck-10 basin boundaries are the outlines of the Huck-10 watersheds. Another useful layer that's located within reference data is U.S. historical fire perimeters. This gives an idea of burn scars from fires from 2015 through 2020. And a burn scar is just the geographical extent to which a fire burned through vegetation. And you'll notice as I pan around the map, it will continuously load more perimeters. Next, I'm demonstrating the river gauge layer, which shows the location of river gauges as provided by the National Weather Service. So if you click on one of these points, you'll get the current observed flood stage, the 24 and 48 hour forecast, as well as the hydrograph for that gauge. Now I'll demonstrate how to look at some of the various observed layers available. So once again, we're using the date picker to pick the most recent time, and we're opening up the observed layers, then going to gridded, and we'll take a look at the annual exceedance probability for a 24-hour period. And we opened up the legend. So we see these little areas of yellow. Those are 2-year or 50% annual exceedance probability events. So we'll go ahead and turn that off, and we'll switch to the aerial layers. The aerial layers consist of the Huck-10 watershed outlines with the precipitation accumulation calculated over that watershed. So this is precipitation, and now we'll switch to annual exceedance probability. So this product will give us a little better idea of the magnitude of the rainfall events over a watershed, and you may notice that there's not as much yellow as in the gridded product, and that's because the rainfall is spread out over the watershed. Now I'll demonstrate how to use the date picker to look at an event that happened in the past. So we're going back about 24 hours. There were some severe storms yesterday evening over the southeast, Mississippi and Alabama. So quite a bit of rain over the last 48 hours in these regions. And if we open the legend, we can see that it almost maxes out at the top of the scale at 10 inches. Now we'll switch over to annual exceedance probability over the same 48-hour time period, and we can see these streaks associated with the supercells that move through this region. And looking at the legend, we can see some of these areas received up to 25 to 50-year rainfall events. Okay, so now that we're done looking at the gridded products, we'll switch over to aerial, and we'll look at the same area and the 48-hour accumulation period, and we can see some pretty significant accumulations over these watersheds, up to 5 to 6 inches. And now we'll look at the annual exceedance probability for this event. So for the 48-hour time period, several watersheds received a 10-year event or a 10% chance of it occurring in any given year. And if we zoom in even further, we can identify those HUC10s. So with the HUC10 basin boundary layer on, we can actually identify these watersheds by their HUC10 codes. And one thing I will mention is when we go back in time more than 6 hours, the current National Weather Service watches and warnings will not be active. But when they are active, you're able to click on the watches and warnings to actually get a pop-up with more information such as the issuance time, start time, and alert code. Okay, so we're going to hop in our time machine and go to the future. That would be pretty cool, but the next best thing we have are precipitation forecasts. And these forecasts come from the deterministic WRF model, which is optimized and operated by DTN. So we're able to look 72 hours into the future, or 3 days, and forecasts are available every 6 hours. So first we'll take a look at the gridded forecast products, the gridded precipitation. So when it says init, that means the model was initialized at this time, and the model is initialized on a regular basis of 3, 9, 15, and 21 UTC. But you don't have to think too hard about this because we've converted it to local time in the browser. And now we switch to the annual exceedance probability forecast. Next, we'll switch over to the aerial products, and these are also available with precipitation forecasts and also annual exceedance probability forecasts. So these products will be identical to the observed products, except that it is a forecast. Next, I'll cover several features that allow your user experience to be customized. So the base map is completely customizable. You can change it to satellite imagery, dark mode streets, or a light gray canvas, among many other options. The default base map is a topographic map. Now I'll demonstrate how to edit a user profile. So we'll click on the alerting button, and that will bring us to the alerting and administration page. Then we'll click on user management and edit user profile. And this will bring up your user profile. We'll hit the pencil button, and then we can edit our email with a new email address or any of these other fields such as a username. And when we're done editing, we click save, and our changes have been saved. Next, I'll demonstrate how to reset your password. So on the login page, we'll hit forgot password, and then we'll type in our email address that we registered with. And after you hit that button, you should receive an email at the email address you entered. There will be a link to reset your password, so we'll click on that link, and that will take us to this page where we can enter our new password, and we'll confirm it, and that will reset our password. This concludes the mapping portion of the tutorial. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us at metportalalert@dtn.com.